David Seymour, 5 minutes.
Well, Mr Speaker, I had enormous hopes for the previous member's speech. I hoped to see a principled, detailed, economically literate, public policy-based rebuttal of the bill. And sadly, my hopes were misplaced. But I thought, in the interest of informing the House, I should show the member how somebody might have given such a rebuttal and might have critiqued the bill. And the first question to ask about any public policy intervention or revenue-raising initiative is, where is the market failure? Why is the game theory outcome not Pareto optimal? And you might look to an answer. You might look for an answer like that to the regulatory impact statement, and it's a sad commentary on the standard of regulatory impact statements in New Zealand, I'm afraid to say, that they are not very strong. It seems the problem definition is mostly about why the current policy isn't as big as we would like it to be. It even quotes political party websites in the regulatory impact statement. Mr Speaker, that is not the kind of problem definition and identification of market failure that one would like to see in a regulatory impact statement. One might well argue that there is no public policy basis or intervention logic behind this. The opposition could have done that, but sadly they didn't. They might have raised the question of technological change. Mr Speaker, if I could indulge the House with a small personal anecdote, 15 years ago my flash uncle wired his entire house with Ethernet. And we thought that was pretty cool, and he thought that was pretty cool. And then something along came called Wi-Fi. And then we didn't think he was so cool, and neither did he. And you might think that's a small personal anecdote, but I recently heard that larger organisations are capable of such mistakes. Indeed, the entire Nelson District Council recently, as recently as 15 years ago that is, made a regulation that every house in their region should be wired with Ethernet, and that lasted for about 3 years, and they were swallowed by the same fate. And anybody who wants to fund a rural broadband initiative through any kind of revenue source should be very wary that technological change is happening a lot faster than government programs and legislation, even legislation as fast as tonight, Mr Speaker. But if you did agree, hypothetically, if you did agree that there was a case for public funding of telecommunications infrastructure, you might ask some questions like, to whom is the benefit and what is the most appropriate source of revenue to fund that benefit? And it seems the principle is it is current telecommunications users. Well, what we find in the regulatory impact statement is that one of the best rationales you can find is that we need to do this for people who do not have access to telecommunications services. So we are charging the people who are using the services on behalf of people who are not using them. That sounds to me, Mr Speaker, like a public good argument or a redistribution argument. And if you adopt the principle that you want to raise revenues in the ways that are least distortionate of behaviour, then you should use low-rate, broad-based taxes such as indirect taxes like the GST. Nonetheless, Mr Speaker, that was not the quality of argument that we heard, even from some of the most able members on the other side of the House. And so I conclude with another thought, is that even the best public policy relies upon political support to be sustainable. And what this bill is really about is ensuring that the body politic of New Zealand is able to keep supporting the public policies under which they live. That is why there's a naked, unashamed redistributionist element in this bill. And perhaps in another time, at another place, at another electoral result, I might speak out about it a little bit more strongly. But seeing as those that can actually are unable to, apparently for cognitive reasons, I won't either, and will be supporting this bill. Thank you, Mr Speaker.